What if literally everything you've been told about why you go to school is completely backwards? Okay, let's dive into this explainer and completely re-examine the fundamental reason why we even pursue higher education in the first place. I mean, think about it. From the second we enter the school system as kids, we're basically put on this high-speed conveyor belt. We go from elementary to high school to college, and for a lot of us, straight into graduate school. It is just a relentless treadmill of exams, papers, and degrees. But somewhere along the way, between the late-night cram sessions and stressing over your GPA, the actual why behind all of this intense studying kind of gets lost. So today, we're unpacking a really fascinating source text that completely shatters our conventional understanding of what it means to be a student, what it means to be a professional, and ultimately, what it means to be a true intellectual. Let me ask you this, and honestly keep it real with yourself here. Are you studying, or did you study, just to get a job? Is your absolute main goal for acquiring knowledge just to lock down a comfortable salary, pay the mortgage, and feed your family? For the vast majority of us, the answer is a resounding yes. We all want stability. It's exactly what we've been wired to strive for. But the concepts we're breaking down today frame this exact mindset as a widely accepted, yet fundamentally outdated way of living. The source argues that if your only goal is just personal survival and immediate comfort, you are completely missing the point of the immense education you've received. We're going to look at how this material deeply challenges our modern, highly transactional view of higher education and replaces it with something much, much bigger.
Section 1. Rethinking Higher Education. The Paradigm Shift.
So we all know the traditional narrative, right? It goes a little something like this. Study hard, get a good degree, make some money, and eventually buy your hardworking parents a nice house or, a beautiful set of clothes to thank them for their sacrifices. And look, that sounds incredibly noble. It's a very natural human motivation. But the text argues that this is actually an old-era way of thinking. It describes it as a survivalist, self-serving mindset that's just masked as a virtue. The new mindset, it demands that we think way bigger. Our parents and our immediate families don't just need us to buy them consumer goods. Society needs us to equip ourselves to become actual pillars of the nation. We are meant to serve humanity, not just secure the perimeter of our own household. And this brings us to a really profound realization about what actually funds our intellectual growth in the first place.
Moving on to Section 2. The True Cost of Knowledge. Who pays for your education?
An intellectual is raised on the blood and sweat of the working class. Now, that is a heavy concept, and it's meant to be taken quite seriously. You might immediately be thinking, wait a minute, I took out massive student loans, or my parents paid out of pocket for my degree. But the text zooms out to look at the entire macroeconomic picture, the whole educational infrastructure, the massive university buildings, the billions in research grants, the very fact that you have the physical safety and the free time to just sit in a quiet room and study books, all of that relies entirely on the labor, the taxes, and the daily physical sacrifices of the broader society. Think about the farmers, the factory workers, the sanitation crews. If the working class didn't generate that baseline economic stability and physical infrastructure, the environment for you to just sit and be an intellectual wouldn't even exist.
Plus, the knowledge we absorb in these institutions isn't self-generated. I mean, you didn't just casually invent calculus on a Tuesday, or discover quantum physics, or write classical literature. You don't have to figure out the laws of thermodynamics from scratch. Knowledge is an inheritance. It's produced by all of humanity over thousands of years of painful trial, error, and sacrifice. Millions of lives were literally dedicated to uncovering the very textbooks you skim through in a single semester. Because you're absorbing this collective human triumph so quickly and efficiently, your education inherently carries this massive, almost unpayable debt to the society that created it, refined it, and preserved it for you. So, if we followed this logic, understanding this profound societal debt naturally shifts your focus. It forcefully pulls you outward. If society built the physical school and humanity built the intellectual knowledge, then a true intellectual logically cannot use that borrowed education just to chase personal wealth. This framework suggests that a true intellectual's focus has to scale upwards in a very specific order, starting from serving society to serving the nation and ultimately to serving all of humanity. If you hold on to the limited mindset of, I'm just going to use my PhD to maximize my own stock portfolio, well, the source argues you haven't actually become an intellectual at all. You just become an educated consumer. So let's see how this ties into the idea that graduating from university is not the end of your education, but actually just a transition point.
Section 3. Society is the second school. Never stop learning.
Here is a massive reframe we need for how we view our careers. In school, you pay money to learn the absolute basics, right? It's a foundational, very sheltered environment. But according to the source, when you finally enter society and get a job, you absolutely shouldn't view it as the end of your learning. Far from it.
Instead, you've just entered a brand new phase where you are getting paid to learn in the field. Your job is basically a paid, practical laboratory. You're taking those clean, theoretical basics you learned in school and finally testing them against the messy, highly complex reality of human dynamics and global markets. If you miss this perspective, you fall straight into what we can call the worker trap. The text warns us very clearly about this danger. Just imagine someone who lands a corporate job, figures out how to do their daily tasks within the first 6 months, and then just clocks in and clocks out for the next 10 years. They stop seeking growth, they stop asking the big questions. The exact moment you define yourself merely as a worker who is done learning, your intellect essentially freezes. You become trapped in a bounded reality, literally repeating the exact same year of experience 10 times over, rather than actually gaining 10 years of wisdom. You limit your own paradigm, and you lose the ability to solve larger societal problems. So to avoid this trap, the source material lays out this really fascinating chronological roadmap for a purpose-driven life.
Section 4, The Decades of Growth, the Blueprint of Life.
Let's break this down chronologically, because it's super interesting how professional development is categorized by decades here. In your 20s, your primary focus is formal education. This is your era for absorbing the basics, surviving those late nights in the library, and getting a grip on fundamental theories. Then, in your 30s, you transition into active field study in society. You aren't a master yet, not by a long shot. You're making mistakes, testing your knowledge, and feeling the real-world friction of office politics, economics, and human behavior. You are essentially an apprentice to society. And it's only when you reach your 40s that your true capability is finally put to the test. The 40s are the era where the results of your past 2 decades of studying and field practice are supposed to fully bloom. This is the decade society looks at you to see what kind of real, tangible value you can actually produce for the world. Which brings us to our final major concept, what it actually means to arrive as an intellectual and leader when you hit that crucial period.
Section 5, The True Intellectual, the pull, don't push concept.
So there's a really powerful concept of magnetism at play here. The text explicitly states that if you've truly grown your intellect and your mindset over the past 2 decades of your life, you aren't going to be desperately handing out resumes or begging for a promotion. True experts don't chase jobs, jobs chase them. Exceptional capability naturally attracts people, capital, and opportunities straight to you. Headhunters, struggling companies, entire communities, they will actively seek you out to solve their critical problems because your track record and your problem-solving energy naturally pull them in. If you're highly educated but still fighting tooth and nail just to secure a basic position, the text suggests a pretty harsh reality. You might have acquired a lot of facts, sure, but you haven't yet developed true, undeniable capability.
This perfectly describes what the source considers the ultimate professional, embodied by the concept of the real CEO. When an inspiring, true leader is approached to take on a massive role, their first question isn't about their base salary or their stock options or how many vacation days they get. Instead, they examine the very foundation of the company. They ask, can I build a sustainable future here? Can I bring light to this broken organization and actually help its people grow? A true intellectual operates with a deep trust that if they provide immense, irreplaceable value and secure the future of an organization, the financial compensation will effortlessly and naturally follow. They are driven by the sheer scale of the problem they can solve, not just the immediate paycheck attached to it.
And that brings us to this deeply philosophical conclusion rooted in the source material. Knowledge is obtained from the earth, but establishing a righteous mind opens the doors of heaven. This is such a beautifully metaphorical phrasing. It suggests that while you can gather endless facts, data, and hard skills from the physical world around you, the earth, those things alone have a ceiling. It is only by pairing those earthly skills with a selfless, service-oriented mindset that you unlock immense, almost heavenly wisdom and universal support. It's that rare combination of high technical skill and high societal purpose that makes a human being truly unstoppable in whatever field they choose to pursue.
So here's the ultimate question we are left with. Who are you, and who will your knowledge serve? Are you merely studying and working just to survive the endless rat race? Or are you actively preparing to be a pillar for the world that invested so much time and infrastructure into building you in the first place? Take a hard, honest look at your own educational and professional path today. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the paradigm until next time.